Hello, and welcome to Unbeatable. This is the series where I build weird and wacky cars and attempt to beat the unbeatable AI in Forza Horizon 5. Now, in Horizon 5, I have found the unbeatable AI to be much tougher than in previous Horizon games. Or rather, I have found first-place driver tasks to be much tougher, as they tend to be found about a quarter of a lap ahead in most cases. Today I have quite a sensible build just to start the series off. As you can see, I have a Plymouth Hemi Cuda. And you may be wondering what I can do to make this a strange build, as by Forza terms, it's quite a sensible car to choose from. It's in a low class, so it has a lot of room for upgrades when you want to the B or even A class build, and can get humongous tyres, both on the front and rear, which is precisely what you want for grip. I am, however, going to be upgrading this to the top of C class, leaving a little room for upgrades, but due to the weight and the size of this vehicle, I'm very much going to need more handling, especially with what I've got planned for it. So, on to the build. Now, as I say, I'm going to want a lot more grip than I currently have. However, I'm going to have to stay on 70s tyres, which is not ideal. So I'm definitely going to want a lot bigger tyres in the rear, just to quell some of the oversteer. I doubt that I'm going to be able to do all of it, but we shall see. Think I might go for 315s here. I'm going to leave the front tyres for now, see what else we can do with the car. I'm definitely going to put aero on. I know, Forza aero, it looks horrible, but it's almost necessary in some cases. Definitely going to get some new suspension, as it's not a lot of PI. 4 is quite a bit for suspension, but I'm not staying on 70 suspension either. They're very much wobble-matic. Can I take the... Oh, I can take the weight out of it. That's going to be very useful indeed. Ah, something I haven't noticed before. It actually takes the seat out. Yeah. Think I'm going to take the weight out of this. I'm going to want new gearboxes. Don't know if it's got 4 speed, but I'll need to tune it if it does. And that is all my PI, actually. Yeah, definitely can't do a race transmission. And new diff will also be quite useful. The classic muscle car diffs are known for being quite terrible, really. So, any wider? No. There's not going to be a lot of room here, as we are now maxed out in PI, but if you didn't know, you can sometimes find some upgrades that don't increase PI, like these track whip upgrades. Increases PI too much for the maximum, so we'll go with that. Other ones are like these anti-roll bars. They only increase the PI by minuscule amounts, so it doesn't actually show an increase. I think what I'm going to do is just add the driveline in, and that probably be the build done. Quite a simple build to do. So I've kept the stock engine, but we have 425 horsepower, which is quite a bit. These American muscle cars were known for it, I suppose. And it weighs a decent amount, 3,100 pounds. But I shall see how it handles, so I'll be off to tuning, and I'll meet you at the race. Now, this is why I wanted grip. So we have come to the Cathedral Circuit, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the tightest and twistiest track in Horizon 5. So the AI takes a unimog to it, makes sense. yeah, some of the oh Christ, big bit of oversteer from my car. Anyway, the AI takes some strange cars to these events. I don't believe it affects how fast they are actually, as they're probably quite reasonably scripted to have consistent lap times if you have the same difficulty. As I drive right into the wall, which is not the best idea. So currently not all the way down in 8th. I think struggling a smidge with this oversteer as I get used to it. I've also set it to rainy conditions just to decrease the amount of grip even further. So try and not bully this iSetter. It's so strange. Using iSetter, I wouldn't really take that to any track really. This is one advantage of the Hemi Cuda though, a lot of power, which is very much useful on the straight. However, there is only really one straight that will come into effect, as I have a bucket load of understeer that I wasn't quite expecting. Just checking behind and see where the AI is to see if they're going to overtake me. As I definitely don't have the most amount of grip here. However, I'll do my best to try and catch up to these three. Currently, first place hasn't run away yet. However, it tends to be either a group up ahead or one car that's far faster than the rest. As I take a strange line through the next corner, trying to get to that apex as much as possible. Be careful over the crest, as the suspension will be unloaded slightly, giving a decreased amount of grip through that part as well. You've got to be careful with this section, you don't hit that post on the right hand side, front porch of one of these buildings. It's really a race end of that one. So get a bunch of wheel spin in second. Now, I don't mind too much wheel spin. Well, a certain amount of wheel spin. Too much will be detrimental, but just to get some rotation in these corners, which is where you're actually making the car get around the corner. Yeah, these cars are a bit more sensible. A Mazda MX-5 than is that a BRZ, I think? You can never tell between a GT86 and a BRZ. But much more sensible cars. Oh, another kick of oversteer. Bit too much throttle there. Yeah, there'll be much more sensible cars to take around this sort of circuit. Really fighting the car here. Maybe bigger rear tyres would have been useful. Currently is catching, but first is quite a distance ahead. So I come up right to the back of this Mazda. It will not have the power out of here, but it will have the traction advantage, as it squeezes me to the left hand side. Bump doors, and that's where the AI goes a bit strange. If you even touch them, they basically immediately slam on the brakes. It's quite useful sometimes, but it's rather strange behaviour. Another kick of oversteer, a bit too much again. I doubt I'm going to catch first place. There's about a lap and a quarter left, but it is so far ahead. Pretty much a small straight ahead. I've dealt with the rest of the pack, but there's a slightly locked brakes. Hopefully, trying to get a better line through there, but again the rear is just sliding. I think bigger rear tyres would be useful, but this just shows how little grip you get from these 70s tyres, these old tyres, and why it increased the PI so much just to change the tyres. So I'd outbrake myself through that bit. First is not what I need, I will admit. That was a mistake to go down all the way to first. But first place is just roared ahead. As I hear the buzzing of that Mazda still behind me. I haven't really got far in front of it. So this is a sort of challenge that I was trying to beat. As get this section a bit better. That's more what I want to do. If you can be right up to the curve, that would be perfect. But you sort of got to go halfway into that small straight on that double left-hander to try and get the best line. But the first time round, I will not be able to do it. The AI have beaten me. It is only a second place that I can manage. So, to summarise the first stint, that there really was not enough grip in the rear for that. I did have a fast lap from that 323, but it just wasn't quite enough. So, time to give it another go. So, on to the second go. Now, we have learnt a lot in the first go. One, the AI is using a Unimog for reasons unknown. Two, this Hemi Cuda struggles with oversteer quite badly. And three, that 323 is quite fast. As we dive down the inside of this Capri. Now, I should explain, I will give each car that I build 3 attempts to try and beat the Unbeatable AI. And in case of the tracks, I'll set it between 3 and 5 laps is my intention. I've set it to 5 here. This is quite a short circuit, despite being mainly because it's very twisty, which will increase the lap time for a shorter distance. Now already on the first lap I've closer to the 323 than when I finished last race. Between each attempt you sort of learn how the AI behave on some corners and where you can perhaps take riskier moves to try and overtake more of the AI. Because the more you are behind, the slower you'll be going, as they'll just hold you back by taking weird lines through some corners. That straight we have caught quite considerably. Now, I changed down to second in that corner just to give a bit of rotation to the car to make it turn around such a tight corner. It's also quite good to start in second around some of these slower corners for this car, as it understeers and then oversteers. That might be something you'd find, just because the car is so big and so heavy that it's likely to understeer, but because it's got so much power and so outdated tyres, as soon as you get on the power it's liable to oversteer quite considerably. As I'll take quite a different line through that bit. It's not quite sort of worked. Having to wait so long to get onto the power, they're just hampering the lap time. But I am catching this 323, albeit fairly slowly. Gonna try and go a bit deeper here, but didn't quite get the car round the corner quick enough. Didn't quite get the rotation of the car. usually on these hairpin bends, you sort of want to go a bit deep into the corner, go a bit slow around, and get on the power a bit earlier, especially in this kind of power build. Mainly because you're going to be losing more time trying to turn around the corner, as I get a bit of a kick of oversteer, puts me into the wall. What was that? Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a power build, so you want the most amount of time on the power, gaining some lap time, rather than trying to turn around the corner where you're going to be a bit slower, especially compared to little Japanese sports car from the 90s. However, I'm very much catching right in the sights now. So I'm going to try and duck underneath and get on the power. A little bit of a wheel spin in the rear. You have to be very careful around here. But we get the move done slightly. Again, admittedly, there's a slight tap on that 323 which sent the AI panicking, but try to be as respectful as possible while overtaking these. Granted, with this AI, I will try and be fairly respectful when overtaking, but I do have to get a hurry on to try and beat first place. However, as long as I don't mess it up, we should be right at the same moment. We get a big kicker over here. Should be able to do it second time around. With 1 lap remaining, I'm in first. Yep, but the commentator's curse is very playing very much into that section. Try and keep off these curbs. Sometimes they can just unsettle a car and send you a bit off. It's unlikely in this car, and it's quite heavy, so its mass will carry it past a lot of that. However, I do have race suspension on, which can react badly to bumps sometimes. Oh, so lock the brakes while trying to steer and brake at the same time. Not the cleverest move. It is better if you try and brake in a straight line most of the time, except from trail braking, but I won't get into that right this moment. Is take this final hairpin, try and not get too much oversteer over the bump again. Still fighting the car, but that should be it. Second time successful. So, won 1 out of 2 events. I shall now give it another go. Give it the third go. See how many times I can beat the AI. To see where I've learned enough. I also believe that's the same best lap time that I did for the first race. Strange. On to the third event. So, on to my third and final attempt here. So, we now know it's possible with the car. It's whether I can drive as well as it did in the second time around. That's always the key, as it's not necessarily guaranteed. So we dive up those 3 cars, including the Unimog. This is still a strange choice, but hey ho. Whoa. So they completely stop in the hairpin, and the iSet is having issues. Barely got it stopped before going in the back of that Bentley. We go around outside of a Mazda, trying to give it a bit of room, but it sort of just ignores that I exist. So we're caught a bit behind it through this section. Try and duck underneath, get a bit more power through. It's unlikely to be fast on the straight, as shown there. Just have a problem with this oversteer most of the time, but we are past and off to chase first place. So, first lap, already in second again. Pretty good going. But nothing is guaranteed, as I may have a skill issue sometimes. Still, kick of oversteer over that compress. That's probably going to happen every lap, as sure it has. But this seems to be a manageable sort of oversteer. It doesn't suddenly kick you sideways. Probably down to the weight of the vehicle. But in some respects, it's actually quite helpful for getting around the corners. So cut it very close there, but outbrake myself into this section. Going far too far wide. Yep. Commentator's curse working fairly well here. So try and concentrate a bit more on what I'm driving rather than crashing all the time. Not really the greatest idea. However, we have left the rest of the pack for dead, really. This is kind of what I meant by tends to be about quarter of a lap ahead some of the time. First place. Get another bit of oversteer around there. So, Mazda seems to be a bit further away than the second event. However, I did build a bit of a gap, so very much possible at this point in time. As long as I stop hitting the wall, really. It's a bit wide around there and not too useful oversteer during that bit. Except if I kept the throttle in, I'd have probably just spun around in a circle. Which would end the race and very much lead to me only beating AI once. Really struggling with this oversteer. I do have it on cosmetic damage, so luckily that rear wing falling off won't affect the car. I may change that in the future, but due to some of the wackier builds that I've got planned, that may not be the case. As for this is quite a sensible build at the end of the day. It's not too strange. Yeah, alright, it's a bit more difficult to drive sometimes, but it's very manageable. And probably quite fast in some respects. As we very much catching this 3-2-3 again. Right, you join me again. I very quickly paused that as there was a bit of a technical issue. However, let's continue. So, very big kick of oversteer. So, we're on the second to last lap here. Still a bit of distance away from this 3-2-3. However, still a bit of time to try and reel it in. As long as I don't keep hitting that wall. It seems we have a faster lap time for the best lap this time around. Very... If I did, which I'm not certain at this point, get the same fastest lap the first and second race in a row, that's really quite unusual. Really fighting the car, perhaps pushing a bit too hard, going too low of a gear through that section. As soon as I got on power, it would just oversteer, enormous spin round. On to the final lap. We've still got a bit of work to do. This could be quite difficult coming into a final time. Really caught up during that section. As long as I don't get too much oversteer. That was very good in defeating that. In fact, wow, English. It's very useful language sometimes. Really caught during this section. This is going to come down to possibly the final straight getting really close to that bumper. That's my rear wing that just flew past. Can I dive down the inside here? Having a look. Have done it, but bit of oversteer. Fortunately, right in front of the 323. Now, that was a bit of a strange interaction, as a pretty short of the 323. The Mazda could have taken it, continued round the outside there. There's a gain understeer a bit wide. It's not going to matter. Gonna get it done. Yeah, as that Mazda probably could have held it round the outside, but the AI interact with you overtaking a bit weird sometimes. Just how it works, I guess. I hope you have enjoyed what was rather a sensible build in the end. We can definitely get a bit stranger than this and shall in the coming episodes. Admittedly, it did struggle a bit with oversteer, but that is to be expected with such a big and powerful car. However, if you have any ideas of future builds, please comment them, as well as how wacky you thought this build was. We shall see you in the next one. Have fun.